My name is Halpin. I am a Dublin born and based artist, arts educator and curator. I first graduated from DIT, as it was in Dublin in 1996, and then went on to complete my Masters in the Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. Then came back to Dublin, set up group studios with friends, and then from there have been pretty much working as an artist ever since, primarily a painter. I would have initially been working with family photos and looking at the idea of communal grief through looking at loss and memory using family photos. And then my practice moved in probably about 2008. And I had been looking at the idea of how photos that we see in the media, from areas of conflict, from war, that they can look quite painterly. So when you think like a mother and child photo that you might see from a war-torn, even like we're looking at today, like from Gaza, how they would be, as I said, quite painterly and composed in a way that looks somewhat kind of familiar in looking like, a Renaissance painting. And I became interested in that idea of exploring how photos are used then within the media. And around that time, I had been kind of gathering images from the media that kind of were reflecting that kind of idea. And around that time, I was looking further and further back into art history and into pre-Renaissance, Byzantine, and became interested in icon painting, and as well as obviously researching the actual images, I then trained as an icon painter. In 2008, I did a residency to Georgia and was visiting sites where there had been recently a war, and I had painted images from that war and now was visiting that. So for me, that was, I suppose, a change in the direction of my work. And from there on in, I suppose, I then started looking at areas of conflict, contested territories, and was using photos, but then was making my own compositions from them. So initially I was painting directly from the media photos, but then started working them together into a narrative. And then that idea of kind of expanding it out into larger compositions using multiple images from multiple sources. The diptychs that I've been kind of working on for the last, I suppose, 8 years, they would evolve over time. So I'd have a central, like an initial image from the story that prompted the painting, and then the painting the composition kind of develops out of that. And then as such, I would then kind of create nearly like a set for where all of these incidents happen. So I'm heavily influenced by Renaissance paintings. It's nearly, as I said, kind of like a compressing of time and space, and where things from different places and different histories are all happening in this one set. I suppose I'm actually a very traditional painter in that I use very traditional materials. And there's, when I say there's a knowingness in that of, like, as a painter, that you are following in this long line of, mark making is the most, I suppose, primitive or primeval, the idea of making a mark on a surface.